Hi, this is for chapter 8, analyzing a commercial lease. Now, till now, we have looked at uh, agreement to lease commercial. Um, it essentially it's called as agreement to lease with unsettled form of lease. Now, the lease itself is a big, can be very exhaustive. And so let's talk about the lease in itself and look at the various aspects of a lease. So in this discussion, we're going to outline the importance of a strategy of fraud and the short form of lease act in relation to the commercial lease, identify and describe the major components of a typical lease document, discuss and explain specific wording in retail lease, including but not limited to rent, rent calculations, yeah, detailed expense payable by the tenants, and user section changes, changes and repairs, damages and subletting or assigning. Discuss and explain specific wordings of a of a typical retail lease and show how this impacts both landlord and tenant in a lease arrangement. The retail lease, a formal lease, the settled form of lease, once one signs as a proceeds agreement to lease commercial. Consequently, all terms in that original agreement must be transferred to the formal lease, otherwise they would be lost. The formal lease is intended to more clearly articulate the terms and conditions of that original agreement and to provide a proper reference document to address detailed procedures including dispute consider mechanisms and the like. Strategy of fraud. A lease of less than 3 years duration uh, need not be in writing according to strategy of fraud, but prudent practice dictates otherwise. For those who venture into occupancy without a formal lease, the courts have looked favorably on such situations given doctrine of part performance. Simply stated, this doctrine applies to the contract of land that are not in writing, where one party has actually performed part of the bargain, that is, occupied the lease premises and paid rent. So strongly suggests very clearly the existence of a contract. However, if some ambiguity exists regarding the tenure, this favorable judicial outcome may be in jeopardy for registrants. The message is clear: stay away from the legal debates of ensuring the agreement to lease commercial fully describes the intention of the parties and that the formal unsigned lease is attached to the document wherever possible. Short Form Lease Act. The Licenswell and Contract Lease, which states that the agreement is drafted pursuant to the Short Form Lease Act. The Act provides for the use of selected short form wordings in lieu of lengthy wordings, provided that the lease document is sealed and made in accordance with the prescribed form. So essentially, the short form of lease sets out two columns. Column 1 describes the abbreviated versions, with column 2 having the detailed wordings. For example, on the matter of rent payment, the column 1 states to pay rent, and it's statutorily equivalent to column 2 that the leasee will, during the set term, pay to the said leaser the rent hereby reserved in a manner herein before mentioned without any deduction whatsoever. So essentially, the short form of lease provides for the use of selected short form wordings in lieu of the lengthy wordings, um, and is quite relevant in making the lease document more readable. The key sections of the detailed lease are in the intent to lead, which is section 1, premises, shopping center terms, deferment of opening, failure to open specification, allocation of utilities with section 20, air conditioning, heating and air conditioning section 20C, tenants repairs section 21A, waste or nuisance, landlord repairs, tenant to notify alteration by tenant, injuries or damages, indemnity, sign and advertising, landlord signs, paint, decoration and displays, changes and addition to the shopping center, scaffolding, damage to premises, damage to shopping center, architect certificate, expropriation, inspection by landlords, advertising, time of essence, entire agreement and interpretation. In addition, there are schedule A for premises, B for land, C for landlord and tenant work, and D for rules and regulations. Lease may not always include a table of contents or index, but it is extremely useful addition as it assists the tenant's appropriation of the landlord by locating specific sections within the lease. Let's go on to the parties to the lease. The lease says this indenture made on this day of this year in pursuance to the short form of Lease Act, Ontario, between hearing called the landlord of the first part and hearing called the tenant of the second part, witnesses in consideration of the rents, covenants, an agreement here in reserve and contain the parties here to covenant and agree that as follows. So that's how the lease begins. So essentially, one of the key requirement for a lease is to have is to identify the parties. So as well, all agreements, the parties to the agreement should be sufficiently described so that the individual or the legal entities are identifiable. At least two signatories appear on the lease, namely the landlord and the tenant. With the number of tenants in the particular development, the landlord name and address will be printed. Should the landlord or tenant be signing under the name of a limited company, the following phrase should be added as applicable: a private or public corporation registered under the law of our province of Ontario. It's possible to sign on an agreement on the behalf of a corporation yet to be incorporated. In the event that either parties are incorporated under the federal charter, the appropriate changes can easily be incorporated. It is important to determine the plus size name of the corporation or individual. Also, when the tenant is executing the lease using a limited company with little or no assets, or an individual with the similar characteristics of the prudent landlord demand a guarantor. Some leases contain a space in which the guarantor name can be inserted by herein called the guarantor of a third party with the corresponding amendments to the first page and the signing page. Intent of the lease. The landlord is clearly stating that the tenant will be responsible for all costs incurred in the operation of the enterprise, excluding only the landlord's income tax and whatever form of financing applies on the development. The landlord is clearly stating that the tenant will be responsible for all costs incurred in the operation of the enterprise, excluding only the landlord's income taxes or whatever form of financing or place on the development. The tenant will frequently want to be extremely um, to be extremely broad provisions in this section explained. Uh, However, the tenant specific obligations are detailed later in this lease. Essentially, apart from the tenant rental obligation or concession requirement, the payment charges and obligations refer to the item described. This particular location premises in the particular location will be inserted refer to the site plan that is attached to form the part of the lease. Location is critical to the tenant and will be determined by the location of the major anchor tenant, entrance system, or other related consideration. Landlord typically predetermines the tenant mix and location of the tenant categories to maximize, among others, the cross shopping traffic. In the case of single-purpose property such as a bank which is a parking lot, these premises will be the entire premises, the building itself, the land under the building, the parking lot. In the case of shopping center, or more than one building on a common parking lot, the situation is different. The tenant leases also premises only and does not lease the parking lot or the common areas. However, he or she has the right in common along with the tenants to the use of such areas as stipulated in the lease. A site plan should be attached as scheduled to the offer to lease, which carefully identifies the location of the lease premises. Term. A lease contract To be valid, must transfer possession of the property to a tenant. The lease therefore provides that the landlord demises the premises, the transfer the premises, or grant a lease to the tenant for a certain period of time, known as the term. If the contract does not transfer the possession to the tenant, then it is not a lease. It should be noted that a stipulated period of time is required and the premises must revert back to the landlord at the end of the lease term. If the contract does not provide for the reversion of the property back to the landlord, then it is not a lease, but a sale of the property. The lease must contain the term a term certain. However, in the case of new developments, it is impossible to predetermine a commencement date for the term. Municipal delays, construction problems, leasing requirements, financing constraints, and a host of unforeseen problems can all conspire to delay the opening. Solution: create a floating starting. It will create a floating start of up to 3 years that can be adjusted by notice from the landlord's architect. So to recap, in case the starting date is not known, then we can create a floating start of up to 3 years that can be adjusted by the notice from the landlord's architect. That can be adjusted by the notice from the landlord's architect. Signing date was commencement date. The commencement date of the lease is the date of commencing to pay rent, which may not be the same. The commencement date of the lease and the date of commencing to pay the rent may not be the same. Some tenants may require a period of occupancy usually between 30 and 60 days for the purpose of installing fixtures or stocking the store and do not want to start paying rent until they are certainly open for business. On the other hand, the landlord wants to ensure that the lease is in effect when the tenant starts such installation or stockings, even though he is willing to let the tenant have a rent-free installation period. So it's important to ensure that the contract states that all the permits have been in place and the landlord has to approve plans and the tenant has to provide evidence of proper insurance. To recap, the commencement date of the lease and the date of commencing to pay the rents may not be the same. Some tenants may require a period of occupancy, usually between 30 and 60 days, for the purpose of installing fixtures and stocking the store, and do not want to start paying rent until they are actually open for business. On the other hand, the landlord wants to ensure that the lease is in effect when the tenant starts such installation and stocking, even though he is willing to let the tenant have a rent-free installation period. So it's important to ensure that the contract states that all permits have been in place, that the landlord has to approve plans, and that the tenant has to provide evidence of proper insurance. Deferment of opening. Then, notwithstanding the foregoing, tenant agrees to cooperate in any endeavor of the landlord to achieve an official joint opening of the shopping center. If the premises are ready to be open to the public for the business prior to the official opening as established by the landlord, tenant shall the landlord's option and request defer its opening for business until such official opening, in which event the term of the lease shall not commence until the day of such official opening, on which day tenant shall open the business and the premises to the public, and the term shall commence. The owner shall have no liability to the tenant for requiring a tenant to delay its opening until the official opening. The landlord may require that an official opening date be adhered to by the tenant. If such is the case, the liability accrues to the landlord, given the delay until the official opening date. Failure to open. If the tenant fails to open the whole of the premises or the business fully fixtured, stocked, or staffed within the time herein provided, tenant shall pay the landlord the additional rent, an amount equal to 2 times the aggregate of the minimum rental plus any other sum payable as additional rent hereunder in the rental year divided by 365 for each day or part thereof during which tenant was not so open for business as herein provided. Such amount is the liquidated sum representing the minimum amount of damages that the landlord shall be deemed to have suffered for loss of percentage rental in which landlord might otherwise have become entitled to, and is without prejudice to the landlord's right to claim and, and prove greater sum as damage to avail itself of any of the remedies of the breach hereunder provided, that if within X days after the time herein provided the landlord has not so opened. Landlord may, at this option, terminate the lease by written notice to a tenant, in which case tenant shall pay to the landlord, in addition to all the amount payable hereunder, the cost of all works in construction of any kind performed or caused to be performed by the landlord on behalf of the tenant, plus 15% for any overhead or supervision as to any of all of which the decision of the landlord architect shall be final and binding, and the landlord, in addition to any rights or remedies available to it, shall be entitled to retain all monies therefore to pay to the tenant, pay to the landlord by tenant, to be forfeit on account of liquidating damages. Notwithstanding the foregoing, if the tenant delayed or hindered in or prevented from opening the premise for the business within the time herein provided for by reason of any strike, lockout, labor trouble, inability to procure material, equipment, labor, service act required by the flood, earthquake, explosion, sabotage, accident, failure to power, civil commotion, riot, insurrection, war, or any reason whether or not of foregoing nature beyond reasonable control of the tenant, that the date on which the premises are to be opened for business shall be extended for a period equivalent to the delay of the premise. Should the tenant fail to open the opening date, the landlord has the right to charge them and double the normal rent and make the additional payment, and may even terminate the lease if the tenant has not opened for a specified number of days. Insert such number in the blank. 30 to 60 days will be double time. Should the tenant fail to open on opening, the landlord has the right to charge and double the normal rent, make claim additional payments, and may even terminate the lease if the tenant has not opened after a specified number of days. Enter such number in the blank space. 30 to 60 days may be normal time frame under ordinary circumstances. Acceptance or approval of the tenant is late. Amend accordingly. The final paragraph limits the tenant exposure if he or she is caught in a force majeure situation. Specifications. The landlord, together with the architect, will have developed the design of the building, landscaping in the common area, and established the sanitary elements for lease areas such as washroom, electrical devices, HVAC, floor finishing, and storefronts. The balance of the work is subject to the landlord's approval as to design and finishes appropriate building codes and other government requirements and restrictions. Tenant improvements become the property of the landlord when the tenant vacates, while major retail chains have construction and design teams. Smaller tenants may experience considerable problems in meeting the design criteria and contracting the necessary trades. A professional store designer may be needed. Alternatively, the landlord can assist in completing the premises at a cost plus an appropriate upcharge. The landlord should give written notice to a tenant of the day upon which the tenant can enter the premises rent-free for a period of X days, herein called as the rent-free period, for the purpose of carrying out and completing tenant's work. Such notice shall be given as soon as the progress of the landlord work reasonably allows, and even at least 30 days in advance of the day upon which the rent-free period is to commence. On or before the expiration of the rent-free period, tenant shall, at its own cost and expense, complete in a good and workmanship manner of alternate works required of it under Schedule C, and open the whole premise of business to the public, fully fixtured, stocked, and staffed. Notwithstanding the commencement of the rent period, tenant will not be permitted to enter the premises for the purpose of performing tenant work or for the purpose of storing the fixtures until tenant has first obtained the landlord written approval of the tenant plan to pursuant to paragraph 6 of Schedule C. Tenant has secured all necessary and requisite approvals, licenses, inspections, and permits of municipal and other government authorities having jurisdiction over the conduct of the work, and tenant shall have submitted evidence to such approval, licenses, inspection, and permits to the landlord. Tenant has provided evidence of insurance as required. A tenant contractor has been approved by the landlord as required by paragraph C. Tenant contract has been approved by the landlord. And there's insurance. They have the insurance, and they have secured all necessary and requisite approvals, and a tenant has first obtained the landlord approvals. So to recap, there are 4 conditions that have to be met. Tenant has landlord return approval for the work. Tenant has secured all necessary and requisite approvals, license inspections, and permit to the municipal and the government authorities, have provided evidence of insurance, and tenants contractors are also approved by the landlords. Now this section on the rent fee permits a tenant to occupy the premises to complete the store finishing, installation of fixtures, and stocking within the time frame usually running between 30 to 60 days. The appropriate number would be included in the blank space. If loosely worded, this section can potentially create serious problems for both parties. Take special note: the tenant's trade will have to be unionized. All permits have to be in place. The landlord have to have appropriate plans, and the tenant has to provide evidence of proper insurance. The last item is occasionally overlooked, and regularly serious consequences can arise. Construction lien. Tenant should probably pay all charges incurred on behalf of the tenant for any work, material, or services that may be done, supplied, or performed at any time in respect of the premises, and shall forfeit discharge any lien, encumbrance of any kind, assuming thereon from at any time filled against the premises or shopping center or part thereof. In the event that the tenant fails to will require any such lien encumbrance forfeit to be discharged after being notified. Then, in addition to any other right remedy of the landlord may but shall not be obligated to discharge and vacate the same by paying the amount claimed to be due plus any necessary amount on the account of the cost in the course directly to such lien claimant and the amount to pay by the landlord and all costs to solicitor fees incurred by the landlord in procuring discharge and vacating of such lien shall be due and payable by the tenant to the landlord on demand. Trade fixtures. All trade fixtures installed by the tenant in the premises shall be new and of first-class quality, shall be and become the property of the landlord, and shall not be removed from the premises during the term, unless replaced by a fixture apparatus of like kind and quality after the tenant's first written after the tenant's first given written approval. Written notice to the landlord of his intention to effect such removal and replacement, and inventory, fixtures, equipments, or personal property a tenant left in about the premises at the expiration of the tenant shall, at the option of the landlord, be deemed to have been abandoned, in which event the landlord shall be entitled to dispose of the same as it seems fit. Rental payable. The tenant shall pay to the landlord throughout the term of the rent as rental for the premises without any set off or deduction whatsoever. A minimum annual rental, or they are called the minimum rent, at the rate of dollar. This is based on the rate of this per square feet of the premises per annum. A percentage rental, equal to the percentage of the gross sales in excess of dollar during the each rental year period, provided that the gross sale to which rental percentage applies shall be adjusted proportionately on a per diem basis to any rental year which is less than 12 calendar months. This critical section for obvious reasons. The rent in the shopping center lease differs from most other rentals in that it consists of two parts: the minimum annual rental and the percentage rental. One area of difficulty in negotiating a percentage rate exists because differing rates apply to the various types of businesses operating in the shopping center. The differing rates of percentage rent apply to various tenants usually reflects the level of markup of the goods sold and the services offered, and the typical turnover or the sales volume and the level of profitability of the operation. A vital source of reference to establish a percentage rental is the Dollar and Cents of Shopping Center, published by Urban Land Institute. This book not only gives average percentage rental but also provides average minimum rental for small, medium, and large shopping centers categorized into the district. Certain type of tenants such as a drugstore, supermarket, and department store excludes certain low margin items such as tobacco products from gross sales reporting. Minimum rental. The minimum rental shall be payable in equal installment of dollars as in advance or the first day of each calendar month during the term. The minimum rental shall be adjusted proportionately for any rental years which is less than 12 months. The tenant shall, on or before the commencement of each and every rental year of the term, including the first rental year, deliver to the landlord a series of post-dated checks, one for each month of the rental year, drawn for an amount equal to the amount of minimum rental provided payable in each month of such rental year, provided that first such payment shall be include any provided minimum rental for the period from the date of commencement of the term to the first date of the calendar month of the term, provided further the obligation of the first and last rental shall be adjusted to take into account all advances and paid hereunder. The landlord will want to ensure that such payments will receive promptly and regularly, hence the requirement of a post-dated monthly checks. Advance rentals. The landlord hereby acknowledges receipt of other rentals of some dollar Herein called the month rental to be held without interest and applied against the first and last month installment of minimum rental accruing under this lease. The first and last month, sometimes even the last 2 months rent is paid in advance. First and last month, sometimes even the last 2 months rent is paid in advance. The tenants will frequently request that the last 1 or 2 months rent be interest bearing, but this is negotiable item between the parties. Percentage rental. On or before 15th of each month of each calendar month during the term, tenant shall furnish a landlord statement in writing certified by the tenant showing in reasonable detail and in such form as landlord may reasonably require the gross sales for the immediate preceding month, together with the payment of percentage rental equal to the percentage stipulated uh, of the amount by which the gross sales of each month exceeds 1/10 of the dollar amount stipulated. The first statement of gross sales due herein shall include the gross sales from the date of commencement of the term of the first day of first calendar month of the term. Upon request, tenant may shall furnish the landlord on or before the Tuesday of every week a statement showing the tenant gross sales for the immediately preceding week. If the annual statement of the gross sales shows there to be an outstanding amount of percentage rental payable by tenant shall the delivery of such statement paid or landlord amount of deficiency. Conversely, if the said statement reveals that tenant has paid more on the amount of percentage rental during the rental year that's payable, the tenant shall within 30 years of the delivery of such statement refund to a tenant the amount of overpayment unless the tenant is in default hereunder or unless ordered by the landlord is in progress. This section is important insofar as the landlord is concerned. The monthly sales figures allows the landlord to receive monthly interim checks for the percentage rent due rather than having to wait till the end of the year. A constant check on the sales level of the tenant is provided, thus allowing the landlord the liability to remind the tenant success level and conversely prohibition of the failure. Sales charts of all tenants are normally kept by the landlord during month-to-month and week-to-week comparison for preceding years. Regular sales reporting allows the landlord and the tenant to evaluate the effectiveness of advertising, special promotions, and the like. Gross sales event. The term gross sales shall be the sum of all of actual selling price of all goods, various merchandise sold, and the actual charges for all services performed by tenant and the subtenant assignee, licensee, concierge, or any other occupant in at or from the premises, whether cash, credit, redemption of gift or merchandise certificate or any other consideration, including but not limited to such sales and services. Where the orders therefore originating off on the premises where the delivery or performance is made from the premises or some other space, made or performed pursuant to the mail, telephone, telegraph, or some other order received for the premises, may be performed by the means of mechanical or other vending devices on the premises, made or performed as the result of transaction originating in or from the premises, made which tenant or any subsequent or any subtenant, assignee, licensee, concierge, or any other occupant in the normal and customary sense of the business in accordance with the good accounting practice shall credit or attribute to its operation at the premises or any part thereof. All deposits not refunded to the purchaser shall be shall also be included within the term gross sales. Each sale upon installment or credit shall be treated as a sale for the full price in the month during which such sale is made, irrespective of the time when the tenant receives payment thereof. When received by tenant for equipment rental shall be included in the gross sales. The following shall be excluded from the gross sales. Any exchange must be between the store or tenant, where such exchange is made solely for the convenience of the tenant business and not for the purpose of compensating a sale made therein. Cash or cash refund to customers and transaction otherwise included in the gross sale. Sale tax or the direct tax collected by a tenant for its customers on the behalf of and actually paid by a tenant directly to the taxing authority. No franchise or capital stock tax or no income or assumed tax based on income or profit, such as directly from the gross sale. No franchisee or capital stock tax or no income or similar tax based on the income or profit of the tenant shall be deducted from the gross sales. This section is designed to limit the possibility of tenant harm, including all sales emanating from the business, and thereby reducing the percentage and obligation. Tenant will usually amend clause 10.3 relating to sales from the vending machine, where those machines are leased, to include revenue received from the lease payments, to include revenue received after the lease payments are deducted. Tenants records. Tenants shall keep a record and preserve for at least 3 years, writing books and records, which will disclose all information required to determine cross sales, disposition of cash receipts, and entries of cash sales and other information into and in support of the items comprising gross sales. Within 60 days of the close of rental year, 60 days of the close of a rental year, including the last rental year, tenant shall deliver to landlord a statement of gross sales for the preceding rental year, accompanied by the signed unqualified opinion of the tenant's auditor, who shall be an independent chartered accountant duly licensed in public practice in the state of Ontario, stating specifically that he has examined the report of gross sales of the preceding rental year, and that his examination included a general review of the accounting procedures and such tests of tenant books and records, other supporting evidence. Audited financial statement with respect to tenant operation with the premise for the immediately within fiscal year, including an income statement, balance sheet, and statement of retained earnings or capital. Within 60 years from the within 60 days from the close of each rental year, the tenant shall give a statement of gross sales and audited financial statement with tenant of operation in the premises for the immediately preceding fiscal year of tenant. The tenant fails to deliver the following to landlord within the said 60 period. Landlord, in addition to the right here under, shall have the right there to employ a chartered accountant to examine such books and records that may be necessary to certify the amount of tenant gross sales for such rental year. That prepares the audited financial statements of tenant shall on demand pay to the landlord the cost thereof. Tenant shall not change its accounting procedures relating to any aspect of the reporting of gross sales without prior written consent of the landlord, which consent will not be unreasonably withheld. Landlords or its employees or accountant shall have the right at any time and all times during the business hours to inspect tenant books and records and to make any examination thereof which tenant may so desire. If the accountant reports that in his opinion that either both that 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 there's a there is a discloses the liability for percentage rental 3% or more in excess of the percentage rental they have to paid by the tenant for the period under the audit. Tenant shall forthwith pay on the demand to landlord all the cost of the audit in addition to the deficiency of rental. The expected by the landlord of a statement of cost sales on tenant and any further rental based on the shall not constitute the waiver by the landlord or any obligation of tenant under hand also let to the landlord. This section reflects the landlord's concern over the ability to accurately establish a monitoring system concerning gross sales reporting practices. The wordings of this section shall be reviewed and understood. So, some merchants have a higher proportion of gross sales generated through the cash sales. Examples are fast food restaurant, variety and smoke shops, food shops, cinemas, cleaners, and barbers. Cash transactions afford the greatest opportunity should the tenant wish to falsify gross sales figure. Specialized firms exist that have accumulated sales figures checks for a number of years and have built an impressive data bank of average sales performance of different types of tenancies in various shopping centers. These organizations can benefit retail landlords. Some leases can can contains a clause prohibiting the landlord to terminate a lease if the landlord does not achieve sales level sufficient to provide a percentage rent payment. Real estate taxes. Tenants shall pay in each rental year during the term of this lease a share of the real estate taxes. The impression of real estate taxes mean all real estate taxes, school taxes, local improvement rates, water and sewer taxes, extraordinary and special assessment, and all the rates, charges, excise, and levies, whether or not of the following nature, all costs and deposit and fees incurred by the landlord in contest in the same negotiating for authorities, which may be levied, confirm, impose, or assess against all or any part of the shopping center, or against any improvement, fixtures, or equipment forming part thereof, or against any for rental payable by tenant to the landlord. Major claims frequently require the landlord to supply a receipted tax bill before submitting any payment of for real taxes periodically registered. Landlord knows periodic taxes appealed. Tenant proportion share. The expression tenant proportion share of any amount shall mean the proportion of the entire amount determined by multiplying such amount by a fraction numerator, which is the area of the premise, and denominator will be the area of rented the exception of an area of any premises, including the basement area rented at any time from time to time to the Liquid Control Board of Ontario or any successor thereof, and the denominator shall be determined by the landlord architect in a manner consistent with the determination of the area of the premises. And if it changes to the area of the numerator or the denominator shall be made by the landlord not later than 12 months following any change to the area of the rented or rented premises, provided the landlord shall not be required to amend the numerator or the denominator more frequently than, than once in any calendar year unless it is asked to do so. The tenant acknowledges and agrees that the effect of excluding rented area of a liquor license board of Ontario premises in the tenant is contributing a proportion greater than otherwise compared to liquor board for not tenant or shopping center. The landlord architect will certify the total leasable area of the building and of each and of each and every one of the various lease premises. For example, the total area of the lease premises is 1 square meters. One of the units is 15 square meters, and the tenant over share is 15 by 7,100 is 2.1127. Payment of rental. At all minimum rental, monthly rental, additional rent, and all other sum payable hereunder by the tenant to the landlord shall be in the payable in lawful money of Canada when due without any deductions, abatement, set off whatsoever, unless otherwise expressly herein provided. All amounts to be paid by the tenant or landlord under the provisions of this lease, whether or not referred to as rent, shall be deemed to be and shall for all purposes be rent, and landlord shall have all remedies for non-payment thereof as are available in the case of any non-payment of rent. The lease requires tenant payment for a particular a number of different obligations. Payments due to the landlord rather than the rents are described as additional rents. By this wording, the landlord enjoys all likely benefit of tenant's obligation as if they were rent and can only apply for late apply for late non-payment of and short payment of these obligations. Landlords seek the greatest possible level of control over day-to-day operation of the shopping center. Simultaneously, the landlord wishes to maximize the impact of the trade upon this area. This in turn helps to ensure that the tenant achieves high sales volume and in the process may maximize percentage, and the center shall operate as an integrated unit and the customers shall be able to shop at all the stores during the known hours. Certain stores like jug milk stores, donut, restaurant or cinemas, for example, may wish to stay open for a longer period of time in some centers. The landlord will possibly consenting to extended hours will calculate the additional rent incurred. In fairness to the other tenants who are close, he or she will apportion such costs, cleaning, lighting, HVAC costs among the tenants operating during the extended hours. Use of the premises. The tenant shall use the premises solely for the purpose of conducting a business of XYZ, and tenant will not use or permit or suffer the use of the premises or any part thereof for any other purpose or business purpose. This section is referred to as the use clause, and it's used in conjunction with 14C. Each and every tenant operates within the narrowly defined store type, a shoe store, a hardware store, or a supermarket. The uses must be clearly and simply defined and precisely limited in scope. For example, a video store should not be granted the right to sell lottery tickets, and the barber shall not be permitted to style ladies' hairs, as these uses would commonly fall under the normal operation of a lottery kiosk or a beauty salon respectively. Precise limitation of uses is commonly found in with smaller tenants. Anchor tenants, given their intrinsic strength, can and will demand an extremely broad use of definition. The above The above use like serving, selling, and dispensing meal, lunches, ice cream, beverages, bakery products, candies, and prepared abundant competition. The above use is gender certain and allows for any other legal use. The pitfall for the landlord are obviously the terms of managing the a successful tenant mix. Generally, this type of clauses can be negotiated so as to exclude the operator of, and in the case, supermarket for utilizing the premises for use that would directly conflict with the established potential tenant, such as a restaurant. Two clauses 14a and 14b bring into focus one of the most contentious and possibly dangerous element of the lease, named the exclusive clause. The exclusive clause is never part of the lease provided by the landlord. Note the exclusive clause is never part of the lease produced by the landlord. The tenant will sometimes seek exclusivity for a specific use in the center. Landlord normally wants to curtain such limitation, but in certain circumstances will agree. An exclusive use grants one tenant a use that prohibits similar use anywhere else else in the center at issue. The idea of restricted use can also be expanded to limit the landlord to not leasing more than two or three similar uses used within the development, depending on the size and character of the center. In large centers where the demand for major tenant exists, landlords may categorically refuse smaller tenants any privilege where the exclusivity of use is concerned. Restricted use. This section is a basic type of uses that a landlord will automatically exclude. The landlord assumes tenant by their style and character will offer only the type of merchandise and use contemplated. Most importantly, it is imperative that all the exclusive uses may have been granted be listed in the vacant space following or for any of the following purposes, such as hardware store, no more than three ladies wear stores, unisex hair stylish music stores. To fail to consistently update such a list will result in operating problems and lawsuits. Constant liaison with the landlord on the part of the leasing agent is a must in connection to this clause, and the leasing agent should be liable for any oversight or errors in the listing or excluded uses. The tenant shall not operate, cause, or permit to operate on or for the premises or any of the following: a public or private auction sale, a private auction sale, the sale of a used or second-hand goods, any bulk liquidation, going out of business, or bankruptcy sale, the sale of war surplus articles, insurance salvaged stocks, fire sale stocks, or fire damaged stocks, a pawn shop, a mail order or a catalog business, a warehouse or a factory outlet, any operation in which the tenant makes a practice of or any time engages in fraudulent or deceptive advertising or selling procedures, any special sale or sales other than that are incidental to the normal or routine business of the tenant with its regular customers, or any activity not keeping with the character of the shopping center. Without limiting the generality of the foregoing, tenant shall not use or shall not suffer or permit any other part of the premises to be used for the purpose of grocery or supermarket or any other self-service establishment for the purpose of selling beer or liquor as defined in the Liquor Control Act, or in connection with a store commonly known as a variety store or a jug milk store or a chartered bank or trust company or any other institution providing financial service to the public, or the drug store or any of the following purposes. Landlord occupancy cost. The expression landlord occupancy cost used in this lease means that the landlord's cost expenses attributed to repair, maintenance, operation, supervision, and administration of the common areas, and shall include costs of cleaning, sweeping, window washing, snow removing, redecorating, renovating, gardening, planting, paving, striping, costs of policing and supervising security of the common area, the cost of repairs, operation, maintenance, periodic depreciation, agricultural insurance, cost of utilities, Urbanization costs of providing land and office with shopping center, cemetery, traffic, business taxes, real estate taxes, evidence, common area. Other costs and expenses not otherwise explicitly included, and insurance provides cost 50% of all the cost expenses incurred by the landlord and refer to in the following paragraph. Referring back to section 1, the landlord wishes to transfer every cost that it might incur to a tenant. A significant cost element is occupancy fee, commonly referred to as the common area maintenance charges or the CAM. Basic operating costs, 13 in all, are listed in the section. There are, however, two riders included in this section, namely the word without limitation or duplication in the third line of the introductory statement and section and subsection 12. These two insertions permit the landlord to include in its CAM charges any item reasonably incurred in the operation and management of the center that are not included in the overall listing. While most chargeable items are self-explanatory, some deserve more detailed consideration. Landlord will have to pay HVACs, will have paid for the HVAC serving the interior common area, and will have purchased certain basic equipment such as benches, bicycle racks, and perhaps a small snowblower, and seeking to recoup the cost. The landlord assigns a useful life to these items based on the depreciation of the income tax act. A state and depreciation is then established and resulting amount is included in the CAM chargeback. The outstanding undepreciated balance is carried to the landlord's books and added to the CAM charges along with the agreed interest charge. For example, if the mall is 3,000 square meters and HVAC system require 30 tons of air conditioning along with ducting and heating, assume that the cost is $50,000. The life of the installation is 10 years. The charge to the CAM would be $5,000 in 10 years. Share depreciation. Interest, bank on 9% with 4% of charge by the landlord. Interest on the undepreciated balance, $45,000 in 10.5 is 6.66. Total charge is $11,000. At the end of 10 years, the landlord would have completely reimbursed for his initial outlay and will have also received interest. Theoretically, HVAC system will have to be replaced and the whole cycle will be repeated. Similar process is applied under section 3, where major repairs are required, repaving in the new roof or a major renovation, where the cost is too great, charge against the CAM in a single year. So section permits the landlord to charge the item then as the secretary salary or benefits. Any tenant should be careful. Tenant should carefully explain the list of charges included in subsection. Section 13 relates to landlord fees. In this lease, the landlord charges 14% fees relating to most CAM charges. Major chains will rarely pay this subcharge, but will agree to 5 to 10% factor of rent for this charge 0% of minimum rent to cover these services. Landlord insurance ensures that every possible eventuality, including rental insurance. Landlord ensures every possible rental insurance. Rental insurance repays any loss from the non-payment of rent in the event of damage to the property. The landlord insures every possible eventuality, including the rental insurance. The rental insurance repays any loss of non-payment of rent in the event of damage to the property. Policies should always be written on the basis of full replacement costs, be reviewed annually with the insurance broker, and checked every couple of years to ensure that the premium charged are the lowest possible. The tenant insurance insures against 3 elements: loss of income, damage to the stocks, improvements of fixtures, and damage to the premises that are obligated to repair on the lease. The remaining items are standards. Heating and air conditioning, landlord repair. In some development, the tenant may be required to pay the HVAC installations. Many landlords, however, prefer to make all HVAC installation themselves and charge back the cost to the tenant. The latter pertains to the case of 3% upcharge. The tenant responsible for repairs and interior of the premises must maintain the same in sanitary condition. This includes periodic pest control treatments, particularly where bulk food storage is kept in the restaurants. The landlord maintains the building, the roof structure, the bearing walls, and charges back to the cost of the tenant in the CAM charge. Virtually all major tenants will require landlord to observe the cost of the structural repairs. In the event the landlord has to observe such structural repairs, a mortgage your purchaser will reduce the net income drive on development by an amount equal to the sale of the building. Depending on the circumstances, the landlord may wish to spread any shortfall incurred by this assumption of major tenants, structural repairs among remaining tenants, alteration by the prior tenants. Tenant shall not make any repair, alteration, addition, and part of the premises. Regarding the damages to the premises. The other part is the landlord insists on the full control of or design and construction of any alteration that tenant may desire. All work still must by such charge related to the structure of will be performed by the landlord and paid for by the tenant. Any work necessary by such changes that relates to the structure of the roof shall be performed by the landlord and will be paid by the tenant plus 50% charge. Changes and addition. This is critically important clause for the landlord. No one can possibly envisage what a change can occur over the years at any given location, and the landlord should be able to alter the design coverage at the area of the premises by at its own discretion. Bylaws addressing permissible coverage might alter on the landlord to construct an additional building on the land. After opening the governing document is a lease. After the opening, the governing document is a lease, but even then the landlord may relocate some of the tenant, alter its premises, and with the only right to a tenant being that it may terminate. Major tenants will require landlords make no major additions without their consent. In the case where a center is only partially developed, major tenants will require that certain parking should be maintained in relation to any additions, that the vista be left clear, and that no high parking common tenants such as the must be permitted. In case of damage to the premises, so that the premises at any point will be destroyed or damaged, landlord shall take external insurance proceeds actually received by the landlord and from insurer expediently reconstruct and repair the premises in accordance with the landlord's obligation to repair. As soon as the landlord has substantially completed his construction and repair, landlord shall give notice thereof or the tenant shall have it come in and expediently complete reconstruction and repair of the premises according to the tenant's obligation to repair. If the premises by the reason of such occurrence, they shall not be abated. If the premises by reason of such occurrence are not rendered untenable in the whole or part, the rent shall not be abated. If the premises by reason of such occurrence are rendered untenable only in part, the minimum rental as to the date of such occurrence shall be abated proportionately as to the portion of the premises rendered untenable. For the purpose of this, the computation of proposed rental shall be based on the revised minimum rental, as the same may be abated pursuant to this paragraph. If the premises by reason of such occurrence are rendered wholly untenable, all the rent shall be entirely abated at the date of such occurrence. In no event shall the landlord be liable to reimburse the tenant or damage to replacement for covering. In no event shall the landlord be liable to reimburse tenant for damage to or replacement of or repair of fixtures, floor covering, furniture, or lease or improvement of a tenant. Notwithstanding anything, herein if 25% of all premises at any point of time destroyed or damaged in the whole part, so the landlord option be exercised notice adding 60 days. Let to terminate his lease. So essentially, if 25% or more of the premise is destroyed, the landlord can terminate the lease within 60 days, and the lease expires 30 days following the notice. If 50% of or more damage is incurred, then it can terminate the damage in 90 days, provided 50% of other tenants of the area also terminated, and tenancy expires again in 30 days. Tenants shall pay. Now to recap, if the damage is for 25% or more of the premises, then the landlord shall terminate the lease in 60 days, and if it's and the lease expires in the next 30 days. If 50% of or more is damaged, then it can terminate within 90 days, and provided 50% of other tenants are the tenants by the area also terminated, and tenancy expires in 30 days. The tenant shall pay $50 per square feet the cost of a promotion of any official opening So the tenant can pay 50 cents per square feet of the area in the premises toward the cost of promotion of the official of a shopping center. Now, now there are two systems of promotion. One is the merchant association, 25%, 35% of the contribution goes to the landlord, and which has a committee, or there's a promotion fund paid by the tenant, expended and administered by the landlord. In case of renewal, the 90 days prior to the lease expiry. In case of overholding, 1/6 of the highest annual combined base rent plus percentage rent. Also, the security deposits over and above can be required for the payment of rent. I think with this, we're done with chapter 8. Thanks for your time.